everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're all having a good day. You're standing in the wheat field because honestly I thought after having put together this mud factory, we were going to need to get a decent wheat field together for the supplies we need to craft packed mud. We've got the mud factory, now we needed a wheat factory of sorts, and I decided why not just make ourselves a more organic feeling wheat field. Because honestly, these things do look really nice around a spawn area. There's just a nice big open field, which will expand here and there as the series continues. But I also decided to add a second module to the mud machine here. This one works a little bit differently, just leaving a bunch of mud to dry out and lose all of that water, to dehydrate basically, on top of a pad of dripstone blocks with pointed dripstone below. Once again, just needs to be a solid block, doesn't need to be a dripstone block as long as it has the pointed dripstone below it. But that has been producing clay for us now, and I decided that I was just going to make a double-sided machine instead of just leaving it here, because honestly, once you get a decent amount of mud built up on this thing, it does turn into clay quite quickly. Some of it just starts to transform more or less instantaneously, which is good news if you want a lot of clay, but if I were just to leave all of the mud laid out on top of the clay and I wanted the mud, then there'd inevitably be one or two clay blocks that snuck in there. So I might have to redesign this a little bit. I might have to push the wall out by a couple of blocks, or maybe just take out a block here so that I can fit in a factory wall, but we're going to be designing the factory in between episodes. In the meantime, what I would like to do is effectively tie up a few of the smaller features that we haven't looked at yet from Minecraft 1.19, and then we can start moving back on with the larger projects like farming frog lights and doing some more stuff that has been present in the game before 1.19. The 1.19 features are still going to be a big part of the game from now on, and I think we'll be returning to the Deep Dark and a few other places in the near future. But for now, at least, I think it's time to wrap up some of the features that we haven't yet had a chance to cover. And we're going to start off with a nice simple one, actually, the recovery compass. Thankfully, we have enough echo shards to make this work, because you will need 8 echo shards for the crafting recipe. I've already got 4 iron in my inventory. Let's hop down here and grab ourselves some redstone dust out of here. Just one of those should do it. So we'll need to make a regular compass for this. We'll need to just make that using 4 iron and 1 redstone. If we surround the compass with these echo shards, that produces the recovery compass, which in the crafting interface, the needle is going to be spinning around quite wildly. But once we take that and hold it in my inventory, oh, interesting. I was wondering if that would happen or not. You see, in this world so far, I have died twice, according to the stats here. Where does it say that? There we go. Number of deaths, 2, right there. And my last death was an intentional one. We took a death from blowing up a respawn anchor over there on the beach near spawn. And the point of the recovery compass is to point towards the area where the player last died. But in this case, since we've crafted a recovery compass after we have died, it seems like the recovery compass isn't going to point to the direction of our last death. Maybe it only picks up where the death was after you've crafted the recovery compass, or maybe even after you've died once the 1.19 update has been out. I'm not certain quite how it tracks the location of your death that way, but of course the idea is that you keep one of these at home, probably near your spawn point, and if you die out there in the wilderness, if you die somewhere you don't know what the location actually was, you didn't have the coordinates saved, or you were just exploring, or you might just want to find your way back there without any undue fuss, the recovery compass will point in the direction of your last death, and that will allow you to track back to where you were and hopefully recover your items. Now, a lot has been made of the fact that these are more or less useless to players who play in hardcore mode, because of course, if you die in hardcore mode, that's it. The world is over. You're not going to be able to respawn in the same way, and so the recovery compass doesn't have a great deal of utility to players who only have one life. But I think the design of this item is still kind of cool. I think hardcore players could maybe end up using it more as a decorative item. And let's be real, there are a bunch of items in Minecraft that I don't tend to use all that much. I don't tend to use compasses in general because more often than not, I know where my spawn point is. I've usually built some stuff around there, and it's usually quite straightforward to find using coordinates. There are other situations like adventure maps and stuff like that where compasses can be useful, but I think there's also other situations in which people will find the recovery compass very useful as well. And so I've stashed that up there next to my bed, which is where I will often set my spawn, or at least it's a bed that I can get to nice and easily if I respawn at my storage building or somewhere else around here. And we'll see if we need to use the recovery compass in future. At least I know it's there if I need it. And hopefully we won't need it today, but one other thing that I've been meaning to do is return to the Deep Dark and see if we can get a couple more music disc fragments from that ancient city that we found, because I didn't raid absolutely every chest in the ancient city, and we do need a couple more music disc fragments in order to completely repair music disc 5. Let's take a quick look in the crafting table. If I type music disc in here, you will see that music disc 5 does need 9 fragments in order to craft it, so we are missing 2. So as before, I'm going to load up on wool. I think we're going to bring some orange wool with us this time, since we've already placed some red and green over there at the Deep Dark biome, and let's see if we can make a little bit more progress around that ancient city and track down 2 more music disc fragments. This looks like the right crater to me, and we can dive back on down here to the ancient city and pick up where we left off. Probably stopping somewhere around here, because I know that around the center of the portal we were pretty much safe. Okay, now let's see if we can light up some of this area over here and see if we can track down a couple more ancient city chests. Well, I've already tripped one Skulk Shrieker, so that's not the best of starts, but I think if we can block this Skulk sensor off like so, we can break that one and break that one, and now we should be all good. And of course, my strikes have long since worn off with the previous set of Skulk Shriekers, so we're not going to be spawning the Warden right away. So this part of the ancient city over here is somewhere I didn't end up getting to at all, and it seems like there might still be a couple of chests around here. So let's bridge over this way and see what we can find. There are 2 chests over here and 4 Shriekers. Let's see if we can do our best to disable the Skulk sensors and just take out the ones that we need to remove. If I take out this one, oh, yep, no, we ended up triggering another one over there. Not to worry, though, because I think destroying this one should have us in the clear. Perfect. Okay, now we can destroy this. Oh, no, he's right there. He's right there. Okay, pillaring up, and getting the heck away from the Warden. Oh, yikes. I think he might have spotted me. I get the sense that he might have spotted me. Are we going to see the sonic boom attack in a second? Oh, he's trying to climb up to get to me. Okay, well, we better fly away in that case. Well, the Warden's heartbeat has dulled down a little bit, but yeah, if I get a little closer, it seems like it's still searching for me. And that noise indicates that he's dug away. So we should be able to head back over there now, and thankfully I had a nice open section of cavern to fly into here. So back at the spot where we were, it's looking to me like there is a hidden Skulk sensor around here somewhere, and that's going to be very, very difficult to defuse, because I imagine what's happened is it's generated somewhere slightly out of visible range. Like it's either underground or it's just hidden underneath one of these blocks. There is still this one over here, which I'll try and occlude with wool like so. There might be a couple more hidden around here, so I'm going to try and disable any more before I open this chest. It looks like we are mostly in the clear. I want to remove these Shriekers, but it seems like they are getting a signal from somewhere, so if I break one, I'm probably going to trigger the other. Let's see if we get lucky. There we go. We got another other side disc. Wow, that's awesome. And a Swiftsneak 3 book plus efficiency 3, but no fragments of the music disc. Okay, well, not to worry. We have another chest over there that we can give a try. Let's once again try and block off this chest to make sure we don't trip any more Skulk sensors. And once again, a Swiftsneak book, another set of diamond leggings, but no music disc fragments. Oh well. Before we move on, I would really like to claim this skeleton skull, and I'm hoping that nothing's going to hear me doing that, because if I end up breaking a block around here and spawning the Warden, it's going to be pretty tight quarters for me. There we go. Okay, we got it. Not to worry. Well, I'm glad that we were able to get that, because honestly, working with mob heads is going to be super fun. But it seems like this situation has been mostly diffused, and all we had to do was wrap the entire thing in orange wool. We've still got a few stacks left. Let's see what else is out here. There is at least one chest down here, which once again, I'm not entirely certain if it's completely free of Skulk sensors and Shriekers around it. I think we're mostly in the clear here. Let's open that up. Oh, Swiftsneak once again. Lots of Swiftsneak books out of this place, but still no music disc fragments. We have another chest over here, and it looks like there are a couple of other modules of the city that I haven't even encountered yet. Right there, we've got a chest next to 2 Shriekers, which is possibly the worst setup for it to be. But over here, the nearest Shrieker seems to be right there. So I am hoping that if we come down here, block this off and open that up. Oh, another other side disc. Man, we've got so many of those right now, but no more fragments of Music Disc 5. I am seeing a chest up there, though, so we can potentially grab that one. We've got this one down here, which looks like an absolute death trap. Although, having blocked off this skulk sensor right here, it seems like there is only one left by these shriekers. So I'm thinking maybe if we can take out that skulk sensor right there, we might be okay. Let's see if we can break that. Nope. Okay, apparently not. Let's see if we can have a slightly easier time distracting the Warden this time. We'll throw a carrot on the ground right there. Does he not hear that anymore? At least now I have these paths of wool that I can kind of run around on, and if we sneak a little bit this way, we should be able to get out of range of the Warden being able to follow us. Having tried throwing a few items on the ground, it seems like that doesn't produce enough vibrations to distract the Warden, or at least to trip the skulk sensors and have that distract the Warden. So we might be limited to just getting out of range here, and then maybe if we can fire an arrow in that direction, that's going to trigger a skulk sensor, and he's going to continue that way. Yes, okay, good. So projectiles are really the way to go here. It doesn't seem like dropped items are doing a whole bunch, maybe unless you drop them directly onto a skulk sensor. It's honestly just fascinating getting to see a bit more of the Warden, though. I feel like it's the kind of thing that you could try to never encounter, or it's the kind of thing that every so often you can bring it out of hiding just to take a look at it. Either way, with the Warden distracted over there, we can take a quick look at what might have tripped our skulk shriekers here, and it looks like there is another skulk sensor down there which might be in range. Oh, and there's another one right there underneath a skulk block. Oh, that's so sneaky. I don't really know what I can do about this other than abandon this chest and maybe try that one over there, and maybe come back once we've run down the clock with our strikes with the Warden. With the amount of lava that's around here, I'm honestly surprised that more of this wool is not on fire, because I do have fire spread switched on in this world, so I would imagine that this whole thing could go up in flames any second. We have one shrieker up there, it looks like. I'm trying to get a bead on any others, but I think that's the only one I've seen so far. So I'm hoping that we can just take this one out, and yes, the rest of the sensors tripped without alerting any more shriekers. Fantastic. So that should mean we can hop down here, take out these skulk sensors, and open this chest, which still only has one music disc fragment in it. Oh, that's so close. This time around, it's only a Power 2 book. The leggings have cursor binding. I'm not really going to worry too much about the rest of this. One more chest down here, and very few shriekers around the place. Could this be the one that has our last music disc fragment in it? There's only one way to find out. Looks like it doesn't, although that hoe is pretty stacked, and I need to get out of here. We have now run into the problem that I am out of wool. I've spent so much of it bridging around here that unfortunately I don't really have any way of bridging away right now, other than coming back the way I came, and the Warden is definitely smelling me, although I think with a couple of well-placed bow shots, I might be able to get away with this without him knowing where I am. He does keep coming back towards my location, and I'm worried that he's hearing me firing this bow. But he is still distracted by the noise of the skulk shriekers, and it seems like he's getting angry, so this seems like the time I should probably fly away and head off in this direction, try not to slam into too many pillars, and wait for this darkness effect to wear off. Of course, the problem with that is I flew towards this corner over here that has another shrieker in it, and we could have summoned another Warden if we weren't careful. Seems like I'm pretty safe here, so I'm going to grab some shears, and we're probably going to try and grab a bit of wool from the surrounding environment to supplement the fact that I don't have any more left on me. I think my plan right now is to sneak back over to this area that has all of the blue wool, because if we can grab some supplies from there, then we should be able to make another path through the ancient city. And even though there are a couple of sensors and shriekers nearby, we can take some of this up without alerting any of those, as long as we don't break any other blocks. But look at this. We have the remains of a campfire in here, kind of implying that this was a campsite at one stage. We are really close to a set of shriekers over there, so I need to be extra careful, but for the most part, it seems like we're getting a decent amount of wool here. This at least makes me confident that we can survive another encounter with the Warden, who, as far as I can tell, seems to have despawned at this point. Just in case it will help, I'm going to try and occlude this one down here, but I think destroying this is going to be our best chance. Okay, we got it. We got it. Let's trigger the Warden. At least that time I was able to get away from the Warden pretty quickly, thanks to this network of bridges that I built. And I'm hoping that I can keep him distracted by, once again, firing a couple of arrows nearby. Hello? Do I have a second Warden on me now? Did I just trip another set of shriekers? Yep, there are definitely two. I can hear noises coming from both of them, and all I have left on me is 9 blue wool. I think one of them is down there somewhere. All right, one of them is just going, and the other one is right there. Yeah, that was wild. We ended up accidentally tripping another Skulk Shrieker, and that must have set off a second Warden. This guy doesn't seem to have my scent, though, which is kind of ideal. I think we might be able to head back to that chest, break a couple of sensors, and we'll be in the clear. I'm thinking at this point the best thing for me to do is going to be to break both of these Shriekers, because they are really the thing that's causing me the trouble here. First of all, I've got to make sure my escape route is in place, but then we should be able to break this one, and we can break that one as well. It's going to spawn the Warden, but we can run for it right away. And those were definitely the last two Shriekers in that area from what I could tell, so we should be able to open that chest once the Warden despawns and we can go back there. Yep, seems like the Warden has just gone away. Oh, thank goodness for that. All right, let's wander on in there and see if we can open this chest now. Here we go. No more Skulk Shriekers. Has it been worth it? It has not. At least not from the perspective of any music disc fragments. But hey, we got another Swiftsneak 3 book. Plenty of those for our leggings for the foreseeable future. Well, while that is unfortunate, there may still be a couple more chests lurking around this area. So I'm going to do a bit more exploring, hopefully not trigger the Warden too many times, and we'll see if we have any more chests here. Now this right here is a chest that I have opened before when we first raided the city, but this one right here, just opposite a Skulk Shrieker, but this one is one that I don't think I have opened yet. I've gone around and blocked off any of the Skulk sensors that I think would hear me opening this chest, so it may be safe or we may be about to spawn the Warden again. I mean, it was safe, but we didn't get what we wanted, unfortunately. And from the looks of it, that may have been the last chest that I hadn't touched in this entire place, so there's every chance that we may have to go looking for another deep, dark, ancient city in order to obtain the last fragment of Music Disc 5. So that's an adventure that we'll have to wait for another day, because I don't know where another one of these is, and frankly, it's going to take a lot of exploring to find one, I think. But in the meantime, I might as well tell you that I'm planning on coming back here and treating this as a bit of a project, because, of course, this is such a cool structure. It's also in an area that doesn't spawn mobs, at least on Java editions, so this is a pretty cool place to set up a base, and of course, once we've done a little bit more lighting up, we might actually be able to see the ancient city in all its glory without having to drink a night vision potion that's going to ruin the atmosphere down here. So we'll be back to the Deep Dark at some stage fairly soon, because I would love to turn one of these into a survival base. Maybe build some farms here, maybe check out how it connects to the Nether, all of that stuff. Having a permanent Nether connection over here would be a really cool idea. But in the meantime, if you want to listen to Music Disc 5, you can actually find it online. It's pretty easy to look up on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever you find music these days. Or you could track it down yourself if you're brave enough to risk the perils of the ancient cities. But at least now we know that one more fragment is the only thing we will need. Now, before we head back to spawn, I'm actually going to swing by this pillager outpost where we rescued the Allays a little while ago, and I'm going to stop in and check out the chest up here on the top floor. Hopefully won't attract the attention of too many pillagers. There's just one up here who I can take out pretty easily. And let's open this up to see. They do not have a goat horn. I'm going to take all the wheat, though. We need that for the mud factory. Because while we did get hold of a goat horn in a previous episode when a goat rammed a nearby block whilst we were up there on the mountainside trying to get some frogs to breed, I think it's going to be cool to collect a few more goat horns. And one of the places you can find them without having to trouble yourself with goats at all is from pillager outposts. You will sometimes find a horn in the chest, and it's usually going to be the pillager horn that sounds like the pillager raid horn that they blow when a pillager raid wave starts. But there are several other goat horns to be gathered, and if we wait around for long enough and have one of these goats attempt to ram us, we have a chance at getting another one. Unfortunately, there isn't a super reliable way of baiting goats into doing this, although they can follow you if you're holding wheat, so that might be a solid way to do it. We might need to take the wheat out of our hands at this point, at which point the goat's going to get a little mad at us, and it's going to attempt to ram, although unsuccessfully. It's worth noting that there are some goat horns that are unique to the screaming variants of goats, which will ram you much more frequently, so there is every chance that you'll get hold of a screaming goat horn a little bit more successfully. The screaming goat variants are relatively rare in the wild, but can occasionally be bred if you feed 2 regular goats, so there is every chance that we might be able to get hold of some of those if we start a goat breeding program in future. Hey, there we go. I think one of them just broke off, and yep, we have the... we have the feel goat horn. It sounds like a really low note played on a bass clarinet or a foghorn or something. Oh, and there we go. We might have another one. Oh, this time around, we got Ponder. That does kind of sound like the one we got before. I'd have to compare it to the one we've got back home. So now that we've got a couple of them at least, let's head on back home and add them to our collection. Okay, we are back, and I can finally add this disc fragment to our collection. We've still got a couple more other side discs to drop off, along with, oh gosh, a bunch of other Skulk Shriekers and other stuff. One thing I guess we haven't actually done yet is put Swiftsneak on this set of leggings, and I'm pretty certain that I want to do that, because sneaking around is something that I do quite frequently, and while I sometimes do it to moderate my movement speed a little bit so that I'm mining and it feels like I'm not just, you know, speeding ahead down a tunnel and mining the block that's directly in front of my face, I do kind of think Swiftsneak would be useful if we're going to revisit the Deep Dark in the near future. And if worst comes to worst, they've got a bunch of other sets of leggings that we could always turn into netherite and have a backup set, so with 15 levels cost, there we go. We have Swiftsneak on our leggings now, and this means that as we're walking around here, we should be walking at a relatively normal pace, and if I hit sneak, there we go. I'm sneaking, but my movement speed has barely changed. It almost feels the same, although I'm pretty certain that... Oh, does it work with sprint as well? Am I sprinting and sneaking at the same time if I do that? I think I am. We need to set up some sort of speed test, but it really does feel like I'm sneaking a little bit faster if I tap sprint first and then go into sneak mode from there. I certainly don't lose my sprint either. You can see the particles coming off from my feet, and that's a surefire sign that I am sprinting. So if I'm sprinting like that and the particles are coming off, you'll notice that I don't emit particles when I'm sneaking, but then I go straight back to it after that. It'll be really interesting to measure that and see if I'm actually moving faster if I start at a sprint, but it definitely feels like I am. Either way, having Swiftsneak is something that I'm going to have to get used to. It still feels like a little bit glidey at first, but hey, it eliminates that view bobbing that a lot of people tend to find nauseous, so maybe I should sneak around all the time. Although having said that, sprinting, sneaking, and jumping feels really weird. Like it's a very smooth movement, but it's taking me a while to get used to. And now it looks like the goat horn we got wasn't actually a duplicate. I have the Sing goat horn, which is different from Ponder and Feel. Let's play each of these side by side and see what we end up getting. Here is Ponder. This next one is Sing, once the cooldown wears off and I can play it. Oh, okay, so it's kind of like the opposite motif, a little bit higher as well, and then Feel is obviously the really, really deep one. It's got like very, very different vibes, each one of those. Well, that's kind of cool. And like I said, the last one we should be able to get from the regular goats is the one that sounds like a pillager raid horn. And I believe from there, the rest of them are the screaming goat variants, and we'll have to work on getting those another time. But hey, something to look forward to there. But we need to touch on one last thing in this episode, and it's something that I've been putting off because, to be honest, I don't really see it as all that helpful to the player in the late stages of a Minecraft world, or at least after you've got to the point where you've settled down, you've found a base, you've beat the Ender Dragon, all of that kind of stuff, and you're working with shulker boxes. And that is the chest boat, or boat with chest as it calls it in the game, but I'm gonna just call them chest boats as shorthand. These can be made out of all of the different varieties of wood in which it's possible to make a boat, which means the nether woods are exempt. You're not going to find nether chest boats because, of course, warped and crimson wood can't be used to make boats to begin with. But this is a simple combination of a boat with a chest, in the same way that, you know, you can combine a minecart with a chest to get a chest minecart. And while it limits the space in a boat to one passenger, you can't have another mob in here with you, it does allow you to open it up whilst you're driving around in a boat, and you have the boat's inventory all in there. Then if you get out of the boat and you hold shift while you right click on it, you'll open the chest inventory instead of getting in the boat by right clicking in it, which is a neat way of being able to store stuff in here without having to get in and out of the boat constantly. If you break the boat, of course, all of its contents are discharged onto the floor, so it doesn't function like a shulker box. That'd be kind of game breaking if it did. But the reason I didn't jump straight into making a chest boat as soon as the update came out is that I think they're much more useful in the early game when you're collecting those resources, you're still driving around on the ocean trying to find yourself someplace to go. Maybe if you want to bring a bunch of extra shulker boxes with you if the place you're moving to is handily on the other side of an ocean, then that's fair enough. I think that's a pretty valid way of using these, but frankly, after the initial rush of figuring out where you're going to settle down in a world, I don't see them being all that useful for, you know, transporting your inventory around from place to place. Main reason being, you've already got shulker boxes, ender chests, nether portals, all of that stuff set up already, and if you break a chest boat, you end up having to pick up all the contents, which is not always that helpful. But I think where chest boats are really going to shine is in other areas, like technical stuff and more permanent static storage, because let's try and open out some of this stuff so I can give you a quick demonstration. Let's say I end up crafting a few different chest boats, and I have one that's made out of dark oak, which I can probably get to fall down, there we go, by opening up the trapdoor. Then let's say I put a spruce chest boat on there as well. And then an oak chest boat can go on top of that. And then finally we can place a birch chest boat on top of that. Now it looks a little bit awkward because I haven't really aligned any of these yet, but each of these is now its own drawer, because if I look at the boat down here while holding shift, I can open up the inventory of the dark oak chest boat. But then if I look at the next one up, I can put some stuff in there. The next one up, I can put some stuff in there. And then finally, this birch chest boat at the top can have the books. And then we can try and access these drawers by looking at the drawer itself. And if I lined it up more accurately, like I have done here with the oak boat and the birch boat, you wouldn't be able to see the chest underneath. I can kind of push them around a little bit, actually, if I nudge them a little bit like this. And that gets a little chaotic because they're sort of constantly moving around. I think they've more or less come to a standstill. Now, let's see if I can nudge them into that corner a little better. It's still not really very well aligned. It kind of looks like a jumbled mess right now. But another really cool part about this is that you could put mobs inside of the chest boats. Let's say, for example, I put some chickens, one in each of these boats. It'd cluck a little bit, of course, because chickens are likely to make noise when they just kind of hang around, but that would mean that something was occupying the boat, meaning that we wouldn't have to hold shift to activate the inventory to open the chest. And what you'd be left with is a bunch of pretty colorful drawers just kind of hanging out in one corner of your house. You could conceal it, dress the whole thing up, and you'd never know anything was different. Let's try and do the same with the frog, since this frog here at spawn was already in a boat. Let's see if he wants to get in the chest boat right here. Yep, there we go. Eventually, he ended up sitting in the chest boat. Now, I don't even need to hold shift. I can click anywhere on the boat, and it opens the inventory. And that means that I don't even have to be looking at the chest half of the boat. Basically, anywhere inside the boat's hitbox, if I click on this right-hand corner, it's going to open the chest, and it's going to leave the frog alone completely. And that way, if we stack up these two boats on top of each other, amazing that I was able to do this with a couple of nudges, what we end up with, once again, is a pretty cool system of drawers, but now we can just right-click on the one below, and it opens automatically. Because there's something in the boat, there's no opportunity for us to get in the boat. So I think these things offer a little bit more opportunity for interesting decorative storage than they do just a rideable chest. I think it's a really cool idea. Not only that, but they have some pretty cool interactions with hoppers as well, because if you consider the hitbox of a boat is pretty large, it's this fairly big square that you can see here. Presuming we're able to align the boat correctly, we can completely surround it on all four sides and on top with hoppers. And so despite the fact that it looks like this boat isn't really connected to any of the hoppers, let's try throwing 24 stone into each of the hoppers around the outside. And as long as the random direction of my throws doesn't leave any on the floor, if we open up the boat, 24 stone in there. So incredibly, because the hitbox of the boat is overlapping ever so slightly with this block on one side, the hoppers are able to output items into the inventory of this chest boat. And the same goes for on top as well. So we could have a 9x9 of hoppers up here. The whole reason I haven't done that is because I don't have enough hoppers in my redstone box right now. But all of those wood planks end up here in the chest boat. And with 3 on each side and 9 on the top, that's 21 hoppers, which can all output into the boat at once. And since that's relying on the speed at which hoppers push items, I think that's actually faster than a hopper minecart can collect items. Now, obviously, it's a lot larger, but there is some cool stuff we could do with this. If we want to aggregate everything from a large area of hoppers into a single space and condense everything down into a single output, you can imagine some hopper minecarts underneath this carrying the items away from the chest boat, but the chest boat is the centerpiece of that whole thing, aggregating the output of all of these hoppers into one single inventory. And I'm sure we will find uses for that in future, and indeed there are a bunch of other things that have changed here and there in the wild update, which we will get onto in a future episode. But for now, I think that's probably going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. It's fun to sum up some of this stuff and see what potential it has for use in the future, and always fun to return to the ancient city and do a bit more digging into the mysteries that it holds. But that's where we're going to leave it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.